Hello, y'all, and welcome back to Bamm TV. Go and get you some of that BXBZLLC.org gear. Thank my homegirl for coming back into town. I mean, she's been all around the world. She's been doing some wonderful things. I do appreciate her coming back in town and getting some shirts and supporting me. I wish you the best. Now, this episode of Bamm TV, this is the first penitentiary that I was placed in. And ironically, I was sent to Colorado. And ironically, I ended up leaving from Colorado 28 years later. But this time I was sent to USP Florence, Colorado. USP Florence, Colorado is a penitentiary that was built in 1994. It was also built at the same time that the Supermax ADX in Florence, Colorado was built. This place is built in the penitentiaries are built in the complex. There's Supermax, the USP Florence, then there's a FCI, and then there's a camp. All these penitentiaries, four prisons, are put in one place in a high spot up in Florence, Colorado. They are put together in situations like this to be able to easily mobilize the guards. If anything happened at another penitentiary, they can shut all the rest of them down, and they can take all the guards from that penitentiary and run up there and get the assistance they need. Now that was important because when USP Florence Supermax was built, and then USP Florence was built behind it. USP Florence was designed to be one of the most secure penitentiaries that was not a Supermax. USP Florence was designed with 7.5 guard towers, when the average penitentiary only have about 6. We had a half a tower on the yard. This penitentiary is up in the highest part of Florence, Colorado. In fact, when I left there from Louisiana and went there, I actually could not breathe. I was having trouble breathing for about 3 or 4 days. I actually went to the doctor and asked him what was going on. Was I having heart trouble or whatever? Just walking back and forth to the dining hall. He explained to me that the altitude and the air was so thin up there based on where I had come from. And as you know, most trainers, most boxers, most athletes, that's where they go in places like that there to train because of the thinness of the air that help produce grit and help your lungs process the thin air. Now this penitentiary USP Florence built in '94. I got there in '95. Now what makes this this what's so special about this penitentiary is it is the first penitentiary that was built with the slots cut in the doors. The slots was cut in the doors in order to be able to maintain a long time lockdown. When they had to lock the population down, back in the days when they had to lock the population down, they would have to open all the doors to let them come out to go to the chow hall to get their food. It was hard to feed them without having contact with the guards. So this place was designed that all the guard got to do is open. It was the first one. There's many more been built since then as a USP, but it was made with the slot in the door. Police can open the door with the key, slide you your tray in there. He basically don't have to have no contact with you during the lockdown period before they let y'all back out. Now this penitentiary also became famous for the fact that it actually took the standing record from USP Lewisburg, which had the standing record for the federal institution in the federal system. It had the standing record for being having the penitentiary with the most murders within a year time, and they got up to as many as 8 murders in 1 year. But USP Florence came along, and within that year time that I was down there, they superseded the USP Lewisburg. They superseded them, and they came up with 12 bodies and the most assault of any penitentiary in that system. Now, I tell you all this because this is the environment that I was thrown into. I was thrown into this environment. I left, I came there, and I walk around, and I'm looking, and I'm realizing, hey, Bamm, you ain't in Louisiana no more. I'm observing the situations, and I'm listening to all the different dialects from all the different cities, all the different states. I'm listening to all the different dialects of these individuals, and I'm just amazed because I hadn't been around like that. So when I hear all these different dialects and I see all these people moving in groups, I see all these people, see they interchanging and going on. So now after I'm trying to process the fact that all these different dialects and all these different types of people around me now, and I end up hearing different languages. Now I'm hearing different languages because people are there from all over the world, and they all in their own little group. They communicate with each other, hang with each other because there's familiarity in being with somebody who understand where you come from because they come from where you come from. So they fellowshipping like this, and I'm looking at all these different people, and I'm listening to all these different dialects, and I'm like, my brain is like sensory overload. I'm like, man, how can I comprehend all this, man? I got to get a hold and learn all this here, and able to be able to move and circumvent through this environment. And I'm like, my brain going through overload, and that's what I'm sitting there and I'm looking at myself, and I'm actually saying to myself, man, I was once a big fish in a little pond. I said, now I'm a little fish in a big pond. I said, man, I got to do something to even these odds. I see. That's all I could think about. How am I going to even these odds? Because I'm going to make my stand. So how am I going to do this here? So as I met my homeboys, and my homeboys introduced me to what was going on around. They give you a tutorial. We had some complications when we first met because I don't easily, let people tell me different things. But he was, well, a couple of them, we was talking, they was showing me, hey, this is how they move here, this is how this happened and going on, and I'm listening to all the conversation. He tell me, I'm gonna bring you a care package and I'm gonna have you this and that. I was reluctant to accept the care package and everything, but I did know that, listen, if you're gonna bring me a care package, you make sure it got a knife in it. If it ain't got no knife in it, you can keep it. Ain't nothing I can do. I want that over food, over anything. And so he brought me a care package, and we got together, and he showed me his array of knives after I had been there about 4 days. He showed me his array of knives and everything, and naturally I chose the biggest one, which he said no because that was his. And I said, okay, well, I take the next biggest one, and while you working on getting me one the size of yours or bigger, and I'll pay you whatever's necessary, but that's what I want. I said, I done seen these people walking around here. These people got lawnmower blades. I see these people passing knives back and forth to each other, getting them in the dough, and I see what they working with. And I'm not going in here with nothing like this. And so he understood, and we went around, and so as I'm steady getting developed around there, I'm learning how things move. It moves on a whole different vibe. Everything is structured because they have shot callers on each yard. They have leaders because all these people are known groups. So they have leaders and going on that kind of direct everything, and that's what the system is set up for. The federal system actually encouraged that. They even create it. When it's not somewhere on the yard, it's not somewhere on the yard who's taking control of the populace or where they from, what they do, they'll put somebody in place. Or they'll allow somebody like that to get in place because it's easier for them to have to make contact with one person and squash something than it is to have everybody running willy-nilly and trying to stop something. So therefore, they have their reasoning going on. They've been doing this for years and everything. So I fell into it. I ain't had nothing to do with creating it. I ain't had nothing to do. I fell into that situation. When I fell into that situation, my whole thing was to survive in it. Make sure that I'm not the odd man out. So as I move around and I'm learning about the different things, I'm meeting the different people with a different dialect, meeting the different people from a lot of places. I had dudes from the leader of Dead Man Inc. come talk to me. I had the BGFs, leader of the BGFs, Sinkuma man come talk to me. I had almost every large gang that got hit around the time we did, especially came talk to me, and they was telling me that they loved it. They loved the fact that they seen us going. That many of us went to court together, and they said, man, they believed that we were supposed to be warned that. They said because the way we went to court together, they kept continuing telling me it's not normal to see that many of a gang member go to court together and stick together and go together through the whole trial. And I would always stop them and insist that we was never a gang. We was just a neighborhood. We was just dudes who knew each other, come up with each other and everything. But the media had labeled us a gang, and there was nothing I was gonna be able to tell anybody about that we wasn't a gang. So I stopped with that deal there and just moved on, and I took the information they gave me. They gave me information on my case. They gave me information on how to reach out to what do the law work and what he charged and what a reasonable price and everything. So I took that information and I moved on from there. Now I sit here and I call my family. I called my family and told them the thing that I was gonna need. I was gonna need an allowance because I wasn't gonna be calling no every other month or every other day, back and forth because I don't do the outside when I'm inside. So I sit there, I had them set up for the allowance. I said I'm not gonna be calling them much because I'm gonna be focusing on my case and I'm gonna be focused on how to survive because this is a new environment for me, and that was understood. So I moved forward, and being in the federal system where it moves so structured, some people don't understand that being the odd man out, you can actually affect the people that from your state. You can get them hurt if you do something wild and don't make them aware of it and going on, and I learned that. And you also need to be aware of your movements around people who's moving in structure because everything is done. It's like controlled chaos when things are done. As I note previously, when after I had been there about 2 weeks, a particular group got it, had a problem with one of their men's. They killed him and they had him in the shower. So while he's in the shower, everybody's ready to move, but they know it's finna be a lockdown because soon as the police come through and do their count and they catch that body in the shower or he do his walk, they knew it's finna be an automatic lockdown. So these guys are trying to figure out how to get ICE to take in their cell, having their cell for lockdown, how to get everything that they need and get it in that cell, take a shower and get in that cell before this lockdown comes. Because a lockdown with a murder could probably be 3-4 days. So dudes are doing this here, but you have to do this the right way so that you don't end up indirectly busting the move or indirectly getting people caught prematurely. So what you do is what they showed me or what I observed in doing, that when you go, just like going into the shower, when it's a lockdown, you see something that happened and you finna go get ready, shower before you go in, you have to sit there and wait orderly for everybody to come out the shower, for the people to come out the shower, and then you go step in line. You can't run up there with your clothes, 10 or 12 of y'all standing in the line to use the shower because the police is gonna walk out the office and he gonna look around and say, why is all these guys rushing to get in the shower? And he gonna do a walk around, which means he may find a body, or he gonna call the captain and say, hey, they look like they're doing sporadic movement, something is going on. Call for a lockdown. They're gonna lock everybody down, then they're gonna go from cell to cell. So that's why even in a situation like that, you have to be calm, cool, and collect. And so I learned a lot on my first, and that place there was my foundation where I learned a lot of things about readjusting myself to the federal system and surviving in that. As going to get your ice. Everybody would like to run up there and just load their buckets of ice up before the ice machine run out. But you can't do that. You have to watch one guy come away from there. If it's no more than two, you don't want no more than two to be there. You have to watch one guy leave from there, then you ease on up there and go next. You do it, next man go. Everybody's sitting back watching you. They waiting for their turn to ease up there and get ice. They're not bum rushing the ice machine because the same story would happen. The police would come out and they would look around and they would see, hey, what's going on? Why is everybody rushing to get ice? So there you go. You done bust a move, or you done bust a move before it's prematurely. So you have to control yourself, control your patience, and you have to just sit there. You got that selfish stuff go out the door when you're in the federal system. That selfish stuff all around the system, it goes out the door. So this became important to me when the Texas Mexicans and the California Mexicans got into it. Because when they got into it, all the men's on the compound who are somebody, you know what's going on, you know the tension finally overboard. I mean, I'm not gonna say what it's about, but the tension finally overboard. So as it overboard, we knew it was imminent. It was just a matter of time.